It's all gone quiet.
Yeah, that's because I'm trying to figure out if we're running. We should be on live. So I'm in prison for the first time. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. So
Yeah.
yeah, but we should be ready. We should be fine. Okay. Oh, I just got a beep. Oh. That's what happens when you're on socialist media and you hear a beep. It's like you're being activated. Oh, I heard a beep. I got to go check. Anyway, all right. So let's begin. Let's get the show on the road. All right, we're doing one world religion.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so how about it, Christian apologist? What do you say? What do you think about the one world religion here? What's going on in this clown world of ours?
Well, personally, I think there's a lot of obviously recently with the attack on October the 7th and the conflict between Palestine and Israel. It's had a big influence with Islam spreading propaganda about democratic countries like Israel. And they're also, out to try and take over the West. I know here in the UK, we've got a lot of influence on politicians and MPs, members of parliament here, where Islamists are threatening them. And it's got to a point that our prime minister actually had to make an address about it to the public to say that they're no longer going to stand for it. And they had to bring in a new law for extremism, for both right wing street extremism and Islamism. But it had to have new definitions. And although they've brought in new laws for some of like the protests and marches that are currently happening, the police are not acting on it. So they're getting away with everything at the moment. And sadly, here in the UK, last week, a Palestinian flag, was raised at Luton Town Hall,
Mm.
and a day later there was a Pakistan flag raised up at Westminster, which is in our capital. Um, and when we talk about flags, you usually want the flag of your nation put up. But what we're seeing now is a lot of countries that, well, a lot of flags that are Islamic states or Islamic majority countries. And these flags are becoming more used and more common, even by the left and other people here. And because it's more common now and it hits a major type of audience, the media have followed behind it. And obviously, when that happens, then the government start acting on it the same.
Mm.
And if you look back at Iran before they fell, the same thing happened there. It was Islamism and Islamic like state type people that were pushing for Sharia law, and it was the left that were trying to, get rid of the right and democracy. And democracy fell, and now it's become an Islamic state. And the same thing, sadly, is happening here in the UK where I live,
Right.
and it will eventually be in America.
Well.
So with that,
Yeah.
what they do is once they get into, you get a lot of Muslim members of parliament, they get in, and as soon as they get positions of power, things start changing. More people come in, they do favors for friends, and then before you know it, the question's asked: Can we have Sharia law?
Mm.
And that's what's worrying us, the majority of the British public, although we're not allowed to stand up and speak against it, and that's what's going to happen elsewhere too. So that's my uh, concern of, the one world religion.
Mm.
That's the one that I believe Revelation speaks of, and that's what I believe will happen by 2070, because I've seen shorts and YouTube videos of Muslim sheikhs and imams that have actually said this themselves. They predict by 2070, because Islam is the most fastest growing religion, that they would have already established the final caliphate, and they would have took over the world by jihad.
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening in the U.S. In different places. So different people talking
Mm,
about the recent implementation of Sharia law in Minnesota, Texas. They even have
yeah,
schools there that are teaching stuff. Of course, Michigan. What is it? Forgot the name of the community, but yeah, Michigan, which was criticized for its state militia, which is constitutional um, by mass media
yeah.
for quite a while, allows Dearborn, Michigan, to pretty much be overrun by the Islamic community, be run by the Islamic community, and even have their own uh, similar training there, according to internet sources at least.
Mm.
You make of that what you want. California is well known and overrun. I've even had family members that were approached by Muslims, asking them, "Hey, do you want to be you know, um, a domestic terrorist, essentially?" So,
Yeah.
yeah. Where else? New York, of course. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like America is really being saturated with Muslims, just like anywhere else, especially through the borders, the open invitation for anyone and everyone to come. They even there's video of them even catching Chinese CCP agents coming through the southern border in the United States, in the lower 48.
Well, we had a cyber attack ourselves last week where people were impersonating our politicians over here
Oh,
uh, from Chinese cyber attacks. It's scary.
lovely, 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 lovely.
Yeah. The most scariest video I seen recently was that of Mohammed Hijab, and he's with Ali Dawa and a couple of his other friends that they do the videos on his channel.
Hmm.
And he posted a video on Facebook talking about global Islamicization, or Islamation, whatever you call it. And
Easy for you to say, right?
it's a hard word, but yeah, he was going on and he was saying, he says, I don't blame the Americans and others getting a bit worried. He goes, the politicians are not getting worried, but the public are. And he goes, but if he goes personally, me, if I was, he goes, he goes, they're not doing a lot. He said, because if it was me and I was a Democratic politician, I would be screaming. He was going at the top, saying, if these guys get together, that's it. And he was talking about the separation of Shia and Sunni Muslims, and that if they come together, they would easily be able to take over the world like today.
Mm.
And that's the view he was trying to make. And this is scary because if they are just because they think, right, we've got a few things in common, why don't we just get this over and done with? I mean, the amount of worldwide Muslims that are out there at the moment. I mean, it all starts from one of the biggest Islamic State countries, or the highest Islamic leader. And as soon as one of them decides to say, right, that's it, we're gonna do it. This is what's going to happen. Or if Iran gets hold of a nuclear weapon or something like that, that's it. It's game over.
Yeah,
And
well,
they pass it on all the messages through, the leaders of the mosques, and then they pass it on through the imams, and the imams tell the believers, this is what's going to happen, this is what you've got to do, and that's it.
yeah. Well, I mean, with this BRICS association stuff going on and gaining ground and getting more nations to join them, this whole,
Yeah.
I mean, it's very possible that, well, I mean, actually, what are we saying? Very possible. Muslim nations do already have nuclear weapons. If you look at Afghanistan, or is it Pakistan? I think it's Pakistan has it. India definitely has it, and really, you can argue that's now a Muslim nation. Um, who else
Yeah.
has it? But yeah, I mean, with the BRICS going on, it's just a matter of time. And of course, Biden, as they call him, or there's all kinds of names for that clown. Um, him leaving all these advanced weapons, including stealth technology just handing it right over to the Taliban.
Taliban.
Yeah, I mean that's just insane. Never mind all the money they keep giving them, and especially
They
now,
loved it.
yeah, this Israel Palestine nonsense. All the fundraising that's going on. It's all and the guys from Cross the Crescent discussion group and Osama Dakdok and Paul Sutliff and that gang, like those folks. They do some really good work exposing organizations like United Nations orgs, UNRWA, and all that, CARE, how they've been caught uh, supporting financially terrorism,
Yeah.
and they're still allowed to operate. I mean,
But hang on a minute. This is the thing as well. The United Nations was there. It was set up for all nations if you wanted to join. And it was for the protection of the public and, it was to keep peace between all nations. That was what it was essentially for. Believe it or not, UNRWA is just for Palestine.
mm,
That is all it's for. And like obviously, I've seen a lot of videos recently of things that UNRWA have been teaching the Palestinian children in schools, because they're head of education over there, and there's hostage taking, kidnappings in America with UNRWA, uh, and it's absolutely incredible, like how they've got their own United Nations like team doing this for them, and no wonder this is everyone's turning against Israel, like on the left, because they're thinking, oh well, it's a if the UN are saying that it's okay, their own, then United, it must be true.
terrorism,
Yeah,
and they're
we
still
must
allowed
back
to
these
operate.
people. And what really wound me up a couple of weeks ago when I watched a video of a guy interviewing some of these uni students on the Palestinian marches in London, and he was asking them, "What does that say on your placard?" And they were saying, "From the river to the sea."
Mm.
And he says, "Do you know what that means? Which river?" And they said, "Oh, we don't know. We just had the placard handed to us." They didn't have a clue what was going on. And before they know it, all these stupid people are on the streets thinking they're protecting civilians, and they're walking for the safety of dead babies and stuff like that. But realistically, what they're doing is supporting Hamas.
Well,
And they're making things worse for the Palestinians in the same time, because the more they're out there and believing the Hamas propaganda and making Israel look bad, if Hamas get the upper hand, they're going to be, still in charge of the Palestinians.
mm,
And even there's videos of them actually in Palestine saying to people, tell your guys in your countries, stop marching for us. Like, you don't know what it's like here for us. We
nope,
need the IDF to clear us out.
no kidding. Wow. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I've seen.
It's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly stated in that way, but yeah, I've seen similar videos from different sources, different videos, different people. Yeah, you hear that a lot actually from them, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look for it, because obviously with the algorithms, not many, not like YouTube and things like that. They don't like putting it at the top, but
Hmm.
especially things like Facebook, they're not happy to show it. And most, I'd say, a good 90% of all the mainstream news platforms and stuff like that, they're all for it too. So
Right.
you ain't gonna find that you like the truth. You have to look for it. You have to look. It don't just come to you. Everything else does, but the truth you have to look for yourself. And people just don't do it. They just go by. They follow the sheep. People are just sheep. They just follow one another, and it's all about virtue signal. Look at me. I'm walking for dead babies to make sure that they don't die no more. That's what they genuinely believe.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I shouldn't be laughing. It's just the mass media conditioning. Again, I'm openly one of its biggest victims. I came in, you know, when I traveled to Greece to continue my postgraduate studies there, finish it up. The first thing I did was get involved or of the first things, would get involved with the historical mass migration of Muslims being funneled through Greece and Italy, um, through Turkey. Turkey was exploiting the whole situation. They were getting money and torturing people and kidnapping people,
Yeah.
human sex trafficking, all this crazy stuff. But despite that, they got all kinds of support from the international community, including the European Union, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, like what they're blaming Biden for in the States, the European Union, run by Germany, really, I mean, anyway, I think it's established originally by Germany before it changed and became European Union. At any rate, they were prompting these people to come in and, of course, paying them and all that. But when the Slavs closed the border and trapped people in Italy and Greece, uh, naturally, at least all of Greece. I can't speak for Italy about it. I can only imagine. I've seen videos of what's going on in there, just like rafts of people just going on a beach full of tourists, and you got all these like Muslim-looking terrorists just literally overrunning the beach. It's insane, and that was years ago.
There was a stabbing last week on one of the boats coming from Calais to England. They're stabbing each other up on the boat.
Mm.
And there's also been sexual assaults as well in some of the hotels that they're staying in as well
Yeah.
on their own people.
On their own people? Okay, well that doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah, and this is what this is what's coming on our streets.
Yeah, well, yeah, that goes to the grooming games. But before we get there, speaking on that note, um, let me share this. Yeah, let me jump back. I started off wrong because I'm using again a new platform, using Prism for the first time, and I got to say, after the adjustment I made, um, thankfully it looks so far so good. I've got some tech issues to work out, some things to figure out, but it looks like this might be the way I'm going to be going from here on forward. All I need now is a new graphics card so I can use two monitors and better manage my streams, and I'll be pretty much home free, looking much more professional step by step. I'm pretty excited about that. And
No, that's really good.
yeah, and I got to thank Cy or whatever he goes by. You know what I'm talking about. I appreciate you pointing this platform out to me. I was discouraged last week after the technical issue, but this week I can see I can at least multi-stream to two platforms without flaw. So that's great. For now it's good enough, and I've got ability to play with some extra toys, which is fun. So
Yeah,
yeah, but let me just say, of course, there might be someone listening right now that's not aware that a large part of Christian society around the world, but especially in the West, is celebrating Easter tomorrow. They're celebrating
yeah,
not the crucifixion like we're conditioned to believe through mass media subconsciously, but we're actually celebrating the resurrection of Christ. That's why it is celebration. Um, and yeah, so with that, I want to also go way back into this theory of mine, which might ruffle some feathers. It hasn't been well received so far, but I'm still putting it out there because I strongly believe in. I'm one of those literal people, so I strongly believe in taking the Bible literally. So I believe that, there were descendants of Cain that went east of Eden, um, and
yeah,
settled there, and so on and so forth. So it just seems to me the further you go east from at least the Middle East, which many argue is the um, where civilization started, whether that's true or not. Some now argue Africa or whatever. At any rate,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I would say that there's more evidence to say that it's actually the Middle East that's desert now. That there's evidence to suggest that underneath that desert it used to be, or where that desert is, it used to be very flush land. So, but anyway, my point is this: speaking of nature, it seems like from that point on east, the further you get away from that point, the more civilizations worship nature and even demons. I mean, the further you go, they just outright, as we see in China, they're just right now it's the year of the dragon, by the way. So And even though the communist Chinese, the average citizen will tell you, well, you know what, we don't believe in that hokey pokey stuff. They sit there
Yeah.
and they keep their traditions, and they idolize these things. So, I mean, even though they say it, it's just kind of like the mass media mooney, or aka libtard, who will say, well, I don't believe in religion, and then they'll sit there and knock on wood, and they'll do their yoga, and they'll talk about karma is going to get somebody for their revenge, for the sake of their revenge, and things like that. So, um, yeah. So everyone's, I don't know, everyone's really influenced by these things, and that's kind of what I want to look into from our perspective, and this is the real perspective, and this includes Jews too. I don't know why so many Christians, especially right now, with this yet other red herring, the centuries-old war between Muslims and Jews, is somehow a
Yeah.
distraction. And you got all these Christians going, kill the Muslims. I'm pro Israel. You got people wearing beanies and doing stupid stuff like that, like celebrating the death of people. Which I'm not a big fan of Islam by any means, but I'm also not a big fan of war. Um, so you know, killing is killing. At least at least do it solemnly. At least like feel bad for the human life that's being lost, regardless of who it is. For the love of God, I mean, if you're Christian, isn't that why would you be bloodthirsty? That's not Christian, and certainly not promoting Judaism as a Christian. What the hell are you doing? Forgive me for my English there, but I mean, if you're Christian, you should be saying you're either with Christ or you're not. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. If you're not saying these things, if that's not in your heart, Houston, we have a problem where there's an issue there. So mass media is very crafty in taking us away from God without us even realizing it, and pushing all the wrong things. Why are you pushing people to go back into something that's pre-Christian, denouncing Christ, whether you think it's kosher or not, pun intended? Um, so with that, let me just share this slide. Hopefully this is going to work. Testing running here. Here we go. So this is kind of like this whole one religion, world religion thing. Everyone's got to be, um, cool and open-minded, and tolerating things that are extremely hypocritical, fascist, and doesn't include them. I mean, targets them. Like Kwanzaa, for example. Is that celebrating Halloween? They're celebrating Judaism, speaking of which, or racism, or what? And then, to me, this one religion thing is definitely Masonic. I mean, when you listen to the mass media rhetoric and you listen to the ideology of the Masons, it's identical. That's no coincidence. Um, so yeah, and it's all circular. I mean, they push even the life cycle in school, which makes no sense. I mean, a butterfly doesn't die and then go back to being that same butterfly. That's not a circle. That's an S at best. But again, like I said, everyone's a martial artist. Everyone wants to believe in chi and aura, and the thing now is,
Yeah.
yeah, holistic medicine. You're going to go and get brainwashed, go into the dark room, or all these crazy things. So you can. Well, I'm now off the drugs, but I'm brainwashing myself. I'm getting. So, I mean, being pushed by mass media to go further down that rabbit hole. Uh, it's just insane what people are running to, and willfully so. Like with excitement. We have one in our own circles like pushing microchipping, at least one, saying, "Oh yeah, I'll be the first to do it." What are you talking about, man? Okay, and this person arguably is not Christian. I mean, they're one of those people that I just mentioned that actually pushes for Judaism for whatever reason, even though they allegedly don't believe in anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, but that's the thing. They don't believe in anything. You can argue, well, at least they don't believe in anything. But then others do the same thing, pushing for technology. At least as a Christian, you got to say, hey, you know what? I've got to recognize that my cell phone doesn't work on a regular basis. So why in the hell would I put something that's even more smaller and more susceptible to malfunction into my brain or anywhere else
Yeah.
in my body where it can't be retrieved? But people like getting excited,
That's-
yay! And what's going on, man? Sorry, I went out on a rant there, but
No, no. I mean, you're right. That is. That's exactly how it's coming.
yeah. And this is this saying, the 600. and 10 years later, I don't know exactly about the 610 years later specifically. I wish he were here to speak for himself. But um, so yeah, but he makes a good point. At the very least, it was something we do hear in these circles about Islam specifically. How they came 7 centuries later and they want to claim that their corruption is not corrupted. you know, I
Yeah,
mean,
their
yeah,
third-hand Quran that wasn't printed until 1921 is the right, right. They got it right about Jesus. Let alone the eyewitnesses that walked, slept, and talked, and ate, and did God knows what else with Jesus. Their testimonies don't count, but Muhammad's does.
yeah, exactly.
Well, it's not Muhammad's though, is it? It was Uthman's. So
Who knows? And there's a lot of debate about that too. But yeah, I mean, the people again going back to me, it's Christians, anti-Christians. But my biggest concern personally, with my background, is those that are conditioned, and that's pretty much all of us. If someone's out
yeah,
there right now listening to my voice, trust me, you're being influenced at the very least by mass media.
or
Uh,
brainwashed.
or brainwashed. I mean, again, I was brainwashed my entire life. I thought that the Muslims were, a nice people, original peace. When I had to learn that firsthand, the reality of that ugliness. And then, I mean, then it started. I felt like an idiot, and then I was,
I was
yeah.
speaking. I had a friend here last night. She considers herself to be a Muslim, and obviously, I myself Christian, and I spend a lot of time talking to her about how Muhammad was a false prophet and stuff, and she takes it in. She does take it in. Um, but I mean, she's pro-Palestinian as well, and you can see all that on her Facebook. But the one thing she did last night say to me, which was I couldn't believe it, what she said, and she was talking about her past, and she said, I'm a victim, and I'm also a survivor of an Islamic marriage." And I said, "Right, so was it bad?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "So imagine that being worldwide." I said, "Would you want what you went through on your daughter?" And she said, "Oh God, no." I said, "So why are you a Muslim?"
Right.
I said, "You're not technically a Muslim because now you're talking against the revelation Muhammad gave, which is, is classed as a shirk." I'm
Well,
sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's
for,
classed as shirk.
forgive me for jumping in, but yeah, I just got to say this. I mean, fear is one of the biggest instruments Satan uses against people, against mankind, and we saw that during the lockdown.
Oh,
Yeah, without fear, Islam is queer. I mean, it's dead. It's dead in the water. That's how
yeah,
Islam grows and survives. Is through fear, through terrorism, literally.
yeah, yeah. And what's more scary is now they're actually using women and children to even ante it up and get it done quicker. It's like Shamima Begum. We had that. Did you hear about her? The lady that lived here. She's a British national Muslim, and she went to. She got radicalized by ISIS, moved away, started sewing bomb jackets onto the, suicide terrorists,
Mm.
and then she left ISIS, and she asked to come back to the UK after learning all the stuff that she learned. She wants to come back. Luckily, they've said no, and that was only because she had a big story beforehand. But she's appealing it, and it's costing the taxpayer all like here, the British taxpayer, millions of pounds because she's took it to a Supreme Court.
Mm. Right. So, what about your friend? Going back to that, what did she say? Is she going to leave Islam, or is fear keeping her in there?
I don't know because I mean, she says one thing and it's another. I mean, she's a Muslim, she ain't gonna be telling the truth all the time.
Mm.
But it's like she's although like she's more of an associate than a friend. But she came over and we were talking, and I was trying to teach her the basic principles of Christianity, and she was saying, "Oh, ain't that lovely? Isn't that lovely?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "But what I said, what is it about the Prophet Muhammad that makes you believe in Islam? And she goes, "Oh, I'm not too keen on Muhammad." I said, "Why?"
Oh boy.
And she said, he married Aisha when she was very young." I said, "Then you're not a Muslim." I said, "You're not allowed to say anything bad about Muhammad." I said, "If you do, that's it."
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I know on her dad's side she's got family in Morocco, which is pretty sure Morocco's an Islamic state.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
One of the worst.
and or an Islamic majority, but yeah, she was. I mean, she's English, and she grew up in London, and no one's forced her to be a Muslim. But I mean, her Facebook's riddled, absolutely riddled, because they know she is single and she's a Muslim girl. Her inboxes last night when she put her phone down were going off left, right, and center.
Mm.
It was terrible. And you can tell that it was, they were all Muslims because they all had names like Muhammad and Ahmed and stuff like that. I was like, how many friend requests have you got? And she said she's got hundreds. I just couldn't believe it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, let me go back to the beginning again, jumping around a bit, but yeah, the whole mass media conditioning. I just wanted to go back to the slideshow, that image of Kwanzaa. I mean, again, I worked for Chinese for years, and they
Yeah,
allegedly are against Islam, but they're not. They might be locking up some Muslims. I'm not saying they're not,
yeah,
but at the same time, they're also pushing Islam. They're teaching Islam to their children and so on. I know because that's the content I'm
yeah,
given to teach to their children. And in addition
yeah,
to that, they also teach that CRT stuff, the critical race theory, the Kwanzaa stuff, the pushing, the white people are evil. I've got every Chinese student they have, well, not everyone, but that's overstating it. A lot of them. That's definitely safe to say. All of them do that thing like the racist black man's radar, racism radar. Oh, are you racist? I don't know about
yeah,
you, but in America, it's so common. A black person, a racist black person. I don't want to say all black people. I've got black friends and all that, but they'll come up to you and go,
yeah.
"Are you racist? Are you racist?" I'm like, "Hello, is that some way to greet someone? You don't even know me. You ask me, get on my face, you hypocrite." You know.
Do
Anyway,
you support Israel?
right? Exactly, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, so they're doing these kinds of things, the degradation of society, including their own citizens, of course, especially their own citizens. And,
Yeah,
I mean, that also kind of shows that whole BRICS thing. I mean, they even push Hinduism, even though, they're at war with Tibet and all that. So,
yeah.
it's just insane, man. Like, it's just insane. But let me show before. Yeah, I let you in. Forgive me, I'm taking a stage, but I want to share this stuff. They're kind of prepared. One of them is this is a short. It starts off with something I don't want to share right now. It's basically talking about what you mentioned earlier, Aisha, and
Right.
what is it? Not Fatima, but what's the other one? Oh, I forgot her name now. At any rate,
Khadija?
the cousin, his daughter-in-law slash cousin that he had relations with. God, when she was
Oh
alone.
dear.
Yeah, I forgot her name.
Was
Anyway,
that his son's ex-wife?
yeah. Well, then ex-wife. Yeah,
Yeah,
afterward. Yeah. Anyway, it's so sick, man. All right, so let
I
me.
know.
Yeah, skipping all that, I actually did a little skit. It's kind of funny if you look at my channel, look for it. I did a skit off of Joe Dirt and put Muhammad as Joe Dirt, the Islamic redneck. But anyway, yeah. Oh, there he goes. Mo Dirt meets Zainab. Zainab, that's her name. Zainab spelled different ways.
Yeah, Zainab.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. So let me here start this video.
Then proceeding to ask him to suck his tongue. Does this make you uncomfortable?
So, when pre-Christian Roman and Greek pagans engaged in these behaviors, it was wanton. But when the libtards do it, they, them, their mass media celebrates it. And when the Muslims do it, it's cultural. But wasn't it either
Yeah.
celebrated or cultural when the ancient pre-Christian pagans did it? Is that draconian or nefarious? Yeah, that's a whole other discussion of subliminally attacking Greece, foundationally Christian nation. But I don't want
Yeah.
to get off on a tangent there. Um, so yeah, it's just interesting how people that are conditioned by mass media quickly go to celebrate or show solidarity with Islam, one of the worst quote unquote religions in the world, if not the worst. And
Yeah.
also Hinduism, like we said, everyone's doing yoga, everyone's invoking karma for revenge, and all these other popularized things. China is cool. Buddhism is the religion of
Yeah.
peace, even though Buddhism teaches everyone how to fixate on ripping people's hearts out with your bare hands, that kind of thing. That's the religion of peace. Oh my God. Um,
Yeah.
and then of course that's caught on like wildfire thanks to Bruce Lee in Hollywood. Everyone's kung fu fighting for half a century now. Everyone's doing martial arts around the world. Uh, so yeah, I mean the list goes on and on. It's just insane. Everything but Christianity. When you're Christian, as we're conditioned, all of a sudden that's a problem. I wonder why that is. So
Have an echo.
yeah,
Mm.
and then that's coming to a theater near you. Oh, really? Sorry. And
Go on.
and unfortunately I can't even skip this nonsense. The U-boob is forcing us to watch their junk now. Okay, so this guy, he's a Jewish guy who's gotten pretty popular, particularly during the lockdown. But he was mostly popular not so much for fighting the jab as he was for going to local governments and pushing back on um, the whole pedo stuff, pedoism being pushed in the public systems throughout the country, throughout the
Yeah.
U.S. And around the world. I mean, yeah. So but all of a sudden he was doing it for a while, others were doing it for a while, everyone was in these communities doing it, and all of a sudden the Dearborn community Muslims get in there, like they start doing it. All of a sudden, hey, look, mass media's all over, look at the Muslims, how cool they are, they're fighting this stuff. Like what? So when the Christians do it, you're
Yeah.
arresting them, you're calling them terrorists, domestic terrorists. But when the Muslims do it, oh wow, look at these heroes. And then of course the subject disappears again, and we're now back to watching, Disney, pushing Disney movies and that kind of thing, trying to,
Yeah.
normalize it or implement. Actually, we're implementing pedoism. And then parents, if they complain about it, or the sex changes being forced on children by non-parents, then all of a sudden they're being attacked, and literally some of them are being arrested in places like California, the fascist, hypocritical, demonic state, which I pray God forgive me, will soon fall off the face of this planet, like everyone's predicting, you know, and take all the fascist media headquarters with it. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, as I said, I need to be in church more often, praying instead of investing so much time on the internet. And again, um, this goes to show how much of a victim I still am of this conditioning. Oh, come on. I can't get this to work, function now. I want to share this video, but my computer's starting to freeze up on me. All right, so much for that idea. Unfortunately, we can't watch it, but you can see the heading. This is Officer Tatum, which I have my reservations. He's another rhino neocon. He's a guy who wants to, not only he preaches a very suspect Christian ideology, but he's running around talking about, or had talked about, how he wants to be the head of a federalized police agency. He's not talking about the FBI. He's talking about taking all the local police agencies and not putting them under federal rule, and he would be the head of that. He's talking about that publicly. Yet he wants to pretend he's on our side. Give me a break. But anyway, regardless, he showed a video about how all these Muslims in this hotel, this fancy hotel, just took it over, like you're describing, which is very common throughout Europe and the U.S. People are not realizing it, but in the U.S. too. And again, as you said, on taxpayer dollar, on UN funding. Um, yeah, and it's just insane. I mean, they're literally taking over. I don't get it. Oh, here we go. me see. You can see for yourself.
Look at him. Him.
He's obsessing.
Him.
He's obsessing about the cell phones. I got to say, if you watch a documentary called, I think it's called "In the World" or something to that effect, it was done like in 2005, give or take, somewhere around there, 2007, something like that. Anyway, it was all the way back then showing how these Muslims from, I think it was Afghanistan, were going through all these Muslim countries, including Turkey, to get to the UK. And it was talking about the poor Muslim migrants and their plight, including how they had to travel through Turkey and barely survived that experience. Many of them died going through Turkey.
Yeah.
But what stood out in that documentary was how in Turkey they went to these slums of Turkey, like this really rundown place, and even there, like people are sitting on the ground in these like thrown together mud hut kind of thing looking things. These are really thrown together shelters. I mean, you go in there, people are wearing their old-fashioned robes or whatever, nothing, completely poor. And they're talking, blah, 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 and you hear a bring, bring, bring. This is 2005. Even the poorest of the poorest in Turkey had cell phones back then. So everyone's got cell phones. I don't know what is going on about cell phones. I just got to put that out there. But yeah, they do have money. That being said, they do have money.
Him. Homeboy got a University of Arizona hat on. He on the phone. He on the phone.
Yeah, their iPhones. They do have expensive phones. I'll give them that much.
Yes. What's it up?
Anyway, he's confronting them where they're from and all that. You get the idea. All right, enough of that. So, yeah. But something that happens, well, during Lent, Western, Eastern, usually it's only 1 week difference between the two celebrations. Yeah, during Ramadan, basically, Ramadan strikes up. Just so happens around Lent, because it's not anti-Christian at all, is it? And they start their insane terrorism. But what happens, even if you say, okay, well that's only a percentage, and I'm gonna pose a question: how many psychotic, suicidal terrorists does it take to threaten, if not terrorize, if not destroy an entire city block? How many? One. So even if you say it's only 1% of Muslims, that's quite a lot, but that's not even a reality. Statistics show that at least a third are for this type of terrorism. Most are for Sharia law. So all this stuff is coming to a neighborhood near you, and this was one that's been made popular recently in these circles, and I'm glad it is. This is in your neck of the woods, by the way. Why is this not? My God. Oh, here we go. Okay. Sorry.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Somali Christian TV. We are your favorite Somali ex-Muslims spreading Christianity and exposing the deception of.
These are some of my favorites, by the way. I love this family. They're very happy-go-lucky. I'm not a fan that they're using avatars. That's a bit cringe, but maybe blessed.
Welcome to United Sharia Kingdom, where a non-Muslim man was bullied out of eating his lunch during Ramadan, and a hadith was posted on the train station platform list.
What's that about, man? Why was a hadith being on the bulletin board of the train station there in the UK? Any ideas? Are you still with me? Did I lose you? Uh-oh. Might have lost you. Let me see. Okay, yeah. Lost his connection. Can you hear me? Can you say something? Nope. He's gone. Okay, no worries. All right, let's just keep going and we'll wrap this up. It is Easter Eve after all. But it's just unfortunate. I really want to hear what he had to say about the UK thing. Yeah, but let's take a look at something that he and I took a look at. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and Paul Sutliff joined us for this too, which I really appreciate. Oh man. All right, whatever. And she's walking around with her child in hand. Oh God.
Wow.
Okay. Now she's taking a position in hiding, so she can have a better shot on people,
But the
random
child's
people.
exposed. If there was someone to counterfight that,
Yeah,
the child's exposed already. Right there.
there we go. This is disgusting. So let's watch what she does next. She goes out, starts shooting some more random Christians, because they don't do that. Okay, and the child, of course, is a child, so he's running out. Just so you'll know, at that point, another cop from the left starts coming out, and she's shooting at him. So he fires back, not knowing there's a child out of sight, hidden, where she pulls out, as you saw, pulls out in the line of fire. Now we don't know how this child died yet. I don't think that information is still out yet. But obviously, this Muslim woman, in Texas, went into this Christian center and started shooting up people randomly with child in hand. You can see it in the beginning of this video. She walks out of her vehicle with a child in hand, carries this kid in there, finds a good location to start pulling out her weapons and start shooting. And this kid doesn't know what to do. Now, this is very common behavior. You can see in my own documentary, hour and a half long, of how the women, take charge and go up front. So there's no such thing as a Muslim female victim. They're just as bad, if not worse. And then the child. Not only the men are taking women's children to drag in the front lines as human shields or clickbait for internet propaganda, but mothers too themselves are taking children and dragging them in the front lines for that same reason. Religion of peace, religion of love, religion of what? I mean, it's just disgusting. It's beyond. This literally may be the worst quote-unquote religion in world history. Are you back, Christian apologist? Yep. Okay. All right. So let's get off of that one. Let's go to as I was mentioning, every Easter, Lent, the Ramadan Bombathon. They're disgusting, backward feasting of celebrating, this extortion, oppression, slavery. To this day, Muslims do slavery. Where's the left on that one? Misogyny. You allegedly care about that. Where are you on that one? Of course, the left likes Bachabazi, the whole pedoism thing. So, of course, going to show solidarity with that. And they also love murder, let's be frank. So they don't care too much about the warmongering or anything like that either. Extortion, they allegedly, anyways, it's just nonsense. So let's take a look at the stats there. You can see that, well, let's scroll down if I can. Oh, I can't scroll down. What a bummer. So just so you guys know, I'll just go ahead and take a look at the thing. I think it was up to about 700, give or take. Naturally, now can't find it on the website. At any rate, folks, forgive me, but and I'll put the link in the description so you can see it. If you go to Ramadan Bombathon, as you see in the title, religionofpeace.com, they do a daily update of what they can find, at least. This is not all of them, but what they can find of the massacres that take place during Lent, during the preparation of the most sacred Christian holiday traditionally. And they've been doing this for years. So you can go back a few years and see. It's disgusting. It's just beyond words. Are you back, Christian apologists? I hear a noise, but all I hear is a little weird noise. Anyway, I don't know. Okay, so let's get off on that. And this is one I like. Oh, no wonder here. Okay, you're passed out, poor guy. Okay, so, and I appreciate he's coming with us. That's pretty funny. That reminds me of a guest Thaddeus had on a few months ago from Africa, an African nation. an ex-Muslim woman, I believe. I mean, she was definitely an older woman. I forget what the word is now, but anyway. So, yeah, she was hilarious. She would give those Muslims hell, but because of the time difference, she would log on to these very difficult hours for her, and she would always pass out like that, as Thaddeus and Terrence are gone for hours. I'm going to try to go ahead and end it here pretty soon, but let's just run down this list of things that I've prepared to share. Especially this is probably my favorite. So yeah, these are Iranians trying to get a church door open. I mean, this is what's happening in the Middle East. As Islam spreads everywhere else, and the secularist left shows solidarity with Islam, as the secularist left shows solidarity with Islam, invites Islam, funds Islam, all these things, facilitates Islam, joins Islam even. It's insane. People in the Middle East are thanking God, the real God, that the worst of the worst are leaving their nation to encroach, infiltrate the West, the civilized Christian West, and taking the opportunity to leave Islam under less threat, even though they're still being persecuted and executed for doing that, because open-minded or whatever. But yeah, I've got another video online that I encourage you to watch. How, I think it was, who was it? I can't remember now. One of the I think it was Afghanistan or Pakistan. I think it was Pakistan. They were crying because people were being, rebellious. Muslims were being rebellious against Islam. They were making fun of it, and they're literally executing people for it, including their posts. They're killing them. They're executing them through the court system. Not even terrorism. Their government, their fascist government, which the UN will do nothing about. Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. You could go on and on about this stuff, but what I'm mostly concerned about, people, are the people that are conditioned by mass media. Again, with the Muslims, give or take, you can at least recognize them. You can kind of see them coming, give or take. But with people that are brainwashed to just hate Christians, the only real good thing in this world historically, the thing that is civilized society, and has brought actual peace, actual love, actual unity in the world, gets blamed for things like the religious crusades. I think it was it's Bill Williams, I think it was, who did a video. Again, I have another video editor work that's talks about how mass media supports Islam. I encourage you to check that out. It's an hour and a half long, but it's full of information that it shows his little graphic about how Islam was spreading throughout the world through its battles, and the religious crusades. He compared it to that. It was like basically a century and a half long, of about a dozen battles, a dozen and a half at most, compared to, I mean, every single year there's not a single nation that's been under Islamic siege, and I mean little war, not just encroachment, terrorism, but war. Not a single year has gone by for century upon century upon century, over 1,000 years. How does that even compare? And again, the Crusades were a response to Islamic encroachment that began centuries before, that invaded Europe, all of the Middle East, African nations. Where's that discussion? Where's that discussion? All right, people. The thing is, and the most important thing is, oops, and I didn't include it here too. Oh my goodness. That's on StreamYard. My apologies. I have another video I wanted to share, but that's not here. It's on another platform. At any rate, those of us that are celebrating Christianity, those of us who have had a taste of grace, know better. I mean, even though we are bombarded with mass media, and this is a real danger, I mean, the eyes are the windows to the soul, and that works both ways. Through the Old Testament on to the New Testament, that is referenced over and over again for a very significant reason. We got to be careful what we expose ourselves to. We got to keep our guard up, but we don't need to be jumping in a pig pen just to prove that, we're not going to get dirty. That makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're bombarding ourselves with mass media, we're going to be, at the very least, influenced, but most likely, statistically speaking, scientifically speaking, brainwashed by media. So if they're pushing, for example, pedophilia or war, or unite with anti-Christian Judaism or anti-Christian Islam or anti-Christian Hinduism or anti-Christian Buddhism or anti-Christian communism or anti-Christian, I mean, the list goes on. Even if you're Christian all your life, eventually you'll succumb to it. Chances are, most likely. So please be mindful of that. Please be careful of what you support. Hello, Elizabeth. Unfortunately, I know we started this show when Thaddeus started his. That was not the intention. We were supposed to start a little earlier, but things came up, so we started a few hours late. At any rate, thank you for joining us. But my apologies. We're getting ready to shut things down. But I just wanted to leave everyone with a note, a realization that, Jesus Christ is already victorious. Jesus Christos Nika. They can do whatever they want to us. It doesn't matter. As Thaddeus himself likes to say. I hope he doesn't mind my dropping his name this many times, but yeah, he's one of my favorites. He knows that. I'm trying to puff him too much. I've done it too much in the past, so I try to avoid that now. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I mean, there's nothing. Be wary of the people that could corrupt the soul, not so much the people that can destroy the body. So that's what we're talking about here. That's my mission in life, with my background, my psychology, instructional design, film production, and all the things that I've seen in the world in the historical times too, firsthand. I want to share that information and knowledge with others to bring some good fruits out of it. Please be careful how many hours you're spending being exposed to this media, and how it's making you feel, what it's doing to the passions. Is it bringing you closer to God, or is it craftily taking it, stealing, robbing you away from God? So with that in mind, I wish everyone a happy Easter, a good resurrection, as we say in Orthodoxy, and for those in Orthodoxy, good strength with the remainder of your fast, and I wish you a good Holy Week. I'm looking forward to it myself. God bless, and thank you much for your time.